Hey guys, Rader here with another Rader review, this time for Godfall. So we played Godfall, played a few hours of it. We actually went through and the main campaign and beat the main campaign. There's some after campaign stuff. There's like some end game stuff that you can do. We're not going to do that. There's just not enough here, to be honest. The game for me is definitely not one I can positively say go get, especially at a full price. I paid more than full price for it because I wanted the extra stuff. I wanted some extra skins. It came with some cool weapons and stuff. You paid a little bit more for the deluxe edition. One of the weapons we actually did use for a while, it was Zero's Blade from Borderlands, which I thought was a cool concept to add that in. I don't quite think it was done very well. It definitely didn't look enough like Zero's Blade, but it also they didn't change it enough to fit in this game. So it was kind of recognizable as a blade that Zero could use, but it wasn't quite his blade, and it definitely didn't fit the style of the rest of the stuff in this game, so it felt a little bit forced, but the abilities were good enough to use for a good little while. With that said, the other skins were pretty cosmetically meh. Like most of the plates and stuff actually have some decent coloring to them and design and depth and stuff. And what they basically gave you as an addition is either a silver or a gold complete one monotone color on top of the plate. So it looks very kind of bland. I used the silver one on Silverband for a little bit just to kind of offset it, but it was just all silver instead of like coloring it, making it look cool, giving it some depth, giving it some accent color, something like that. So it was definitely, in my opinion, not worth the extra money to pay for those skins and weapons, unless that's your thing. If that's your thing, go for it. But anyway, we played Godfall for a total of maybe 12 or 13 hours, maybe a little bit more. I had high hopes for this game, and that might be why I'm a little disappointed. They kept touting this as, a looter slasher game with a good story. It's going to be really RPG. The story was very lackluster. There wasn't much meat to the story. You could find some lore points that told you a little bit more about the background and stuff, but it was very generic. It felt very kind of forced even when they did it. Yeah. It's very pretty. It looks really cool. It has some interesting concepts when it comes to battles. I'm not gonna totally say it's the worst game I've ever played, because it's not by a large stretch of the word, but it is disappointing in a few aspects. The story being one. It felt very old school at times, because you have like a hub you go to. That's like your main base, and then from that hub you just select missions and go on missions. And then one of the big drawbacks is the missions are largely in just 3 areas. So you end up going back to those same areas again and again and again. And there's really no point to explore the areas because there's nothing collectible in this game. The resources you need, but all the resources and all the chests respawn. And not even like in between missions, they respawn during your mission. If you wait long enough, you go back, you'll find that resource again. So the wide open areas that you have these missions in, there's doesn't give you a reason to explore. It just do your thing, pick up some resources if you need them for your next Valor plate, which I didn't even know how to unlock Valor plates for half my playthrough. I thought you had to have a particular core for each particular Valor plate, because that's how we got the first one. And I didn't really look at the plates. So I didn't realize that if you look at the plate, all you needed was a few resources and you can make them. So once I realized that, we unlocked, I think, 7 plates. And then within the next hour or two, I unlocked the others. There's only 1 plate I haven't unlocked, and it's because that plate requires multiple endgame runs to get the material for. And I'm not a big fan of that. If you're going to give me 12 plates, let me use all 12 plates before the final boss, let alone the final boss should give you enough stuff to make the final plate, and that was not the case. They gave you 2 out of the 5 you need, so you have to run. The end game is actually just the main game again in a dream state. And that's kind of weak because the main game, story-wise and stuff, was very weak. So that's disappointing to say the least. So yeah, the game is very pretty. The game has some interesting combat items, but the combat feels very sluggish for a slasher game. And then death has no real punishment for you. If you die, you pretty much just stand right back up, generally pretty close to where you were. And in most fights, the enemy still has all the damage you did, and now you're at full health with full heals, and you can just finish them off. And in bosses, we were able to kind of scum the last boss, who was ridiculously overpowered, for kind of where you went. Like, it took me a minute to beat the boss before the final boss, and the final boss would just wail on you. But each boss has a health bar with certain segments, and if you can get down to that segment, then if you die and respawn, he has that segment gone. So the final boss, for example, had 4 segments. So if you got, 1/4 off, then when you came back, he was down 3/4. He had 3/4 health. You kind of keep doing that. So that's kind of what we did. So I probably died 6, probably more than that, probably like 8 or 9 times total. And then we finally beat him. And then that was the end. Like, I don't want to spoil the story for what story there is, but you kind of beat the boss, and it's like, okay, game over. I don't know. It was weird. I can honestly say not my cup of tea. I can honestly say not worth a full price. If you are interested in enjoying this game, I would definitely watch someone's playthrough, watch some reviews, or wait for a deep sale. Or, if you like just going around hacking and slashing and getting gear and loot, go for it. But it's not the same. Like, it almost feels like it's trying to be like a Destiny, where you can go with your friends and just keep doing the same missions and collecting all the gear that you want, and, becoming a super powerful guy. But it doesn't lend itself to that. In our playthrough, we maxed out our gear multiple times. We maxed out all of our stuff multiple times, and there's not a whole lot of uniqueness to the different pieces that really work and make you want to do more. And even the Valor plates are all basically the same. They have very minor differences to them. They don't even change your stats, really. Your stats are all based on your gear and your augments. The Valor plates just give you a different, special ability, and they're mostly the same. They're either it spawns an elemental or non-elemental type creature, 3 of them, to help you out, or you do a shockwave of damage, and that does an element. And that's basically the 2 different archons. Wash and repeat for the different elements, for the different Valor plates. So I had really high hopes for this game, and I think that's part of my problem. So I might be a little bit more harsh than some people, but we at least played it. We played it all the way through to the end because I was interested to see how the ending story went, and what kind of came out of that. So, but other than that, I would probably not recommend this game for most people. It would be a very niche game, someone who likes feeling nostalgic in that, hey, let's go do these missions and come back to base kind of thing. But other than that, it was a little weak in a lot of aspects. I do like some of the concepts they had for the fighting. Like, there's 2 different bars, and, you have to use your 2 different attacks to get the bars down, so that was kind of cool. That could have definitely helped out in certain instances, and certain games could probably take really good advantage of that. And it was an interesting mechanic, and being able to switch between the 2 weapons and have that do something was actually interesting. But it definitely felt a little sluggish. It definitely didn't feel like a slasher type game, which is what it's touted to be. So there's that. And then when you fight a boss that has 5 or 6 different weapon types and you can have a max of 2, it feels a little hamstrung to itself. So I don't know. It was an interesting playthrough. We're not going to do anything on the stuff. I don't feel like there's enough to do that again. Basically, you're just going to refight all the same bosses that you've already fought. So, yeah, that's it. That's kind of my review. If you're interested, wait for a sale. Definitely wait for a sale. Watch some other people play. See if it's something that you can do. Because whatever you see, the repetitiveness you see is what's here. It's very repetitive. It's very pretty, but it's not very deep. So, anyway, thanks, guys, for listening to my Rader review. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to stop by our Twitch channel. We stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Love to have you stop by. Thanks, guys.